3 races remain in the 2007 season. We're here at Texas Motor Speedway for the O'Reilly Challenge qualifying for the NASCAR Busch Series from Fort Worth, Texas. Another mile-and-a-half racetrack the Busch Series heads to. We take a look at our point standings after 32 races. Carl Edwards with a 531-point lead over David Rudiman. What that means in layman terms, Carl Edwards needs to start at least 2 of the next 3 races, and he will clinch the 2007 championship. Hello, everyone. I'm Rick Allen alongside Phil Parsons and Hermie Sadler. Now, we come to Texas Motor Speedway, and when you talk about Texas, everything is obviously bigger. Well, the speeds are faster. One of the fastest racetracks we'll go to.
Yeah, wicked fast racetrack. They built this place about 10 years ago and actually reconfigured it. At one time, the transitions into and out of the corners were very abrupt. They softened those up. It made for wicked fast speeds, and these Busch cars really get around this place, Hermie.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, this race is fun to qualify in a Busch car, too, because although these cars have got about 100 less horsepower, they got more spoiler on the back end, a lot of grip. You come as close as you'll come all year long to running wide open in a qualifying lap here at Texas. A lot of fun to qualify, and we'll see some fast speeds, almost as fast probably as what we saw in Cup qualifying earlier.
Well, momentum could be a key word, too, and the guy with the most momentum right now has got to be David Rudiman. After that win from a week ago at Memphis Motorsports Park, David Rudiman finding victory lane for the first time in the NASCAR Busch Series. Celebrating that, and the celebration continues. Let's go down to the garage to Wendy Venerini.
It's continued into this week because David Rudiman is fast in the Busch Series. Now, I know the Cup Series, we won't talk about that right now. But, David, talk about this qualifying effort. You're going to go out close to last, third from last. You were fastest in practice. How much do you think this track is going to change, and is it going to be an advantage going out late today?
Yeah, I think it'll be somewhat of an advantage. The sun, keeps getting a little lower there, and as quick as it gets behind the sweets and stuff there, that'll track will be mostly in the shade. So, track does seem to pick up overall grip, and just seems to be faster. And the Air machine was pretty good in practice and the qualifying trim. So, and we made the race on the other side over there too. So hopefully we're looking to start off our weekend on a high note.
All right, good luck in qualifying, and congratulations on making that Cup race, Bob.
Well, you're looking at the car that was on the pole for the NASCAR Busch Series race here in the springtime at the Texas Motor Speedway with this guy behind the wheel, David Reagan. But you were 21st quick in that final practice session. How are things going to shake out for you here in qualifying?
I feel like our discount tire Ford Fusion has some pretty good speed. Some of these guys can lay down a good lap. And, like, for instance, we did here in the spring. We didn't race as good as we wanted to, but we wound up with a good finish. I think our discount tire Ford is equally as good as last time. I don't know if it's a pole-winning car, but we'll see what we got.
And that finish for David Reagan here in the springtime was a 4th, a good top 5 run, Rick.
Well, David Reagan looking to improve upon what he did in practice. The first one out on the racetrack will be Dario Franchitti. He had problems in practice earlier. We'll see if he gets those corrected for qualifying. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. We've talked about how fast this racetrack is. Let's take a look at the particulars in our Papa John's track description.
As you can see, the corners are banked 24 degrees. The straightaway is about 5 degrees. The front stretch longer, but probably speeds upwards of 200 miles an hour here at the end of the straightaways.
No question about that. And I tell you, a tricky spot on this racetrack to watch out for is coming off turn 2. The cars have a tendency to get tight there, and then the track flattens out. So if you got too much wheel in it, it can cause you some problems coming off turn 2.
Hermie, you mentioned earlier about the track and such. I was talking with Dario Franchitti. We see him. He's the first car out on the racetrack. He had problems in his first practice session where he got a little bit loose, hit some bumps in one, said wasn't really ready for that. It was early on in his run. His tires hadn't heated up yet.
Well, it's a terrible bump in the middle of 1 and 2 where the tunnel is. It goes out of the racetrack, and they tried to lift that asphalt a time or two, but we call those character bumps, and it really separates and makes this track a little bit different from some of the other mile and a half.
Dario's got a lot of experience here in an open wheel car. He's run here 5 times in an IRL car, and he finished second back in 2004, and he's had 3 top 10 finishes in the 5 starts here for IRL.
47 cars attempting to qualify for the 43 positions. What that means is 17 are fighting for 13 spots, so 4 will go home tonight.
See what Dario is going to do on lap number 2 here. Good lap number 1, 28.778. Picks it up just a little bit on lap number 2 at 28.747, so 187.846. Pretty good qualifying effort there for Dario Franchitti, Bob.
And Elliott Sadler was very fast in this morning's practice session here for the NASCAR Busch Series. But, Elliott, kind of a rare appearance, a guest appearance for you in the 9 car for Gem Motorsports.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Auto Value Bumper to Bumper was nice enough to let me drive the car this weekend and at a track that I love so much. So pretty cool here to come out to Texas. I think the first 2 times I ever came here, we qualified on the front row, and we were 7th in practice, and I got my Dodge pretty comfortable, so go ahead and try to hold it wide open and see what she'll do.
And here's the story, guys, behind this. In fact, the sponsor asked Elliott if there was one Busch Series race you wanted to compete in, what would it be? Texas was his answer, and he's got his wish.
He's had a lot of success here. Didn't he win his first Cup race here at Texas, Herman?
He won the first Cup race here, qualified on the pole, actually finished 2nd to Dale Jr. when Dale Jr. won his first Busch race here at Texas, but I always loved coming to this racetrack.
Here's one of the drivers we talked about that need to qualify to get into this race. Michael McDowell will be attempting to make his first ever NASCAR Busch Series race tonight.
Michael made his first Truck Series start back at Martinsville a couple weeks ago. Had a great year in the ARCA REMAX Series. 2nd points, 4 wins. Really did a nice job. A slew of poles.
Yeah, 9 poles, so we know he can qualify a car.
And this is a good place to bring a young driver like this, because if you can go fast here, you can go fast anywhere, because it takes a lot of nerve to hold the gas down.
Just a little bit quicker than Dario Franchitti on lap number 1, which is going to be one and done for Michael McDowell. 28.724, 187.996. So that is the fastest of the 2 cars that have run so far.
And just to relate that to what happened in practice earlier, David Rudiman was the fastest in final practice at 28.466 seconds. So we expect to see some pretty fast times out there, and we're expecting to see it go a little faster than Michael McDowell just did.
Well, you got a couple things there. In practice, a lot of guys were in race trim and spending more time working on race trim, and guys turn over and try to get a good qualifying lap in, maybe tune the car up a little bit for qualifying, but you can't get too far away from that race setup. But the biggest thing that'll help these guys from practice, Rick, is the track's a lot cooler now than it was early today.
Sun's starting to go down on the racetrack.
Yeah, and everyone says all that does is increase the grip. It doesn't really change the balance that much. If your car's a little bit tight, it might be a little bit tighter, but you get just more grip around the racetrack. And here's Tony Raines driving for Kevin and Delana Harbert.
Yeah, and another thing that can be difficult is you run a practice session. These guys got through practicing these cars around lunchtime, and you take away, it's been 5.5 hours. That can be a long gap for a driver to get back in, especially when you got to hold it down like you do here at Texas. Let's talk to Wendy Venturini. Wendy?
Well, thanks, Herbie. Dario Franchitti saying you are relieved because your day's getting a little bit better than it started off today.
Yeah, it started off pretty bad. I made a rookie mistake and tried too hard this morning on low pressure, stuck the thing on the fence, so we've been playing catch up since then, but the car felt pretty good there, so I knew we were in the show, but I wanted to do a reasonable lap in the target Dodge, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow now.
All right, good luck. Thank you, Dario. And besides being a little tight in 3 and 4, you said it's good.
Tony Raines on the racetrack for his qualifying effort. This is lap number 2 for Tony.
Yeah, lap number 1 is a lap of record, 28.933, 186.638, and that will be 3rd of the 3 cars that have qualified.
Qualifying continues for the NASCAR Busch Series when we return on speed. Mark Green just coming off the racetrack after his qualifying effort. Of the 4 cars that have gone, he's 4th quickest at 29.086 seconds. He is one of the drivers that needs to qualify on time, so we'll see if that holds up as Casey Mears now takes to the racetrack.
Casey's always a factor at these kind of racetracks, mile-and-a-half racetrack. Won his first Cup race early this year at the Lowe's Motor Speedway, a guy that really likes to go fast and feel. Since he won that Cup race at Charlotte, you can just see the way he keeps his, way he pays off, and a lot more confident in the way he carries himself in the car and around the garage.
He's had a couple second-place finishes this year. Finished 2nd at California early on, and then at Lowe's Motor Speedway last May. So Casey's had a pretty good season. I'll tell you, anytime you can win a race in the Cup level, it just about makes a pretty good season.
28.889 for his first lap, and slows down actually on the second lap. 29.075 for his second lap. So first lap, the fastest for Casey Mears, 28.889. And again, he is another one of those drivers that has to qualify to get into this race. Coming up later on this evening, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series hits to the high banks here at Texas Motor Speedway. 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
What a great point battle we have in that Truck Series, Rick.
4 points separating our top 2, Mike Skinner, Ron Hornaday. Hornaday with the advantage coming into this race. Bob Dillner.
Down here with Clint Boyer, and actually we've been watching him a little bit. He's just been chilling out around the car and so forth, but your boys aren't coming near you. Is this a superstition thing? They stay away so you qualify better?
Oh, man. As bad as I just qualified that Cup car, they're probably mad at me, but or nervous. Heck, I'm nervous as bad as I was over there, but you know, BB&T Chevrolet has been good, you know, in practice sessions, so you know, I think we'll be all right. I don't know. I've fallen off the wagon. I can't qualify anymore, but you know, I think it'll be just fine in race trim. Hopefully we can get it in the top 10 somewhere, and if we do, that'd be fine.
Boys, I don't think Clint Boyer has fallen off the wagon. Do you?
I think he's got control of the reins.
Yeah, Clint was 29th in Cup qualifying. That's what he was alluding to.
Hey, guys, talking about Stephen Light right here on the racetrack in the 90 car. Stephen Light last year in this race got his first ever top 5 qualifying position and career best 3rd, so he really likes this racetrack.
Yeah, Stephen is a winner here. Not here, but a winner in the Busch Series this year. Pushing a little bit of water out, overheating just a little bit. You can see at the base of the windshield there on the left of your screen, right-hand side of the car, but won that big Busch race at Kentucky this year. Did a nice job. Beat Brad Coleman, another youngster.
Right.
2 guys, both under the age of 21, finished 1-2.
He's stacking up 3rd right now, Phil, and what that tells me, that lap put down by Michael McDowell is not a bad lap for going out when he did. Very impressive for Michael McDowell, especially the first time at this racetrack.
Stephen Light currently 3rd. His best start here at Texas in a Busch race is 3rd. That's when he had his career best finish at this racetrack, 19th. So looking to improve on that tonight.
You know, Stephen Light is looking for a ride. He's been released. Robert Yates is actually folding up that Busch team, and he's looking for a ride. A pretty good young talent there, looking for work.
Talk about talent. 10 starts, 10 top 10s for Jeff Burton in the Busch Series at Texas. A lot of success here.
Anytime he straps in this 29 Busch car for Richard Childress, you know he's going to be a factor everywhere he goes, no matter what kind of track, short track, mile and a half, he's always fast.
You know, he won the Cup race here back earlier this year, so a lot of success here at this racetrack. As we saw earlier, every time he's been in a Busch car, he's finished in the top 10, including 2 second-place finishes.
4 wins already this season in the NASCAR Busch Series for Jeff Burton as he goes across the start-finish line, 3rd quickest. Bob Dillner.
And Kevin Harvick looking on at his teammate in the 29 machine. And if there's a king of the Busch Series here, it's Kevin Harvick. 3 wins. We just saw your teammate there going on its qualifying runs, but what can we expect from you?
I don't know. We didn't do a qualifying run. We wanted to keep our tires all the same for the race, so we just concentrated on race stuff. But all these guys always do a great job. It's always fun to come drive this car, and Texas has been really good to us, so hopefully everything goes as it usually does here.
Look at that. He's got a big old Texas-sized grin on his face because he knows he's got a good race car here, guys.
Well, he should know he's got a good race car if it's any indication what his teammate just ran. Fastest so far in qualifying. Jeff Burton, 28.698. Now he is what everyone will be chasing. Robert Richardson just bringing his car off the racetrack after his qualifying effort. Of the 8 that have gone, he's currently 8th at a 31.129, just over 173 miles an hour around this mile-and-a-half racetrack. Robert Richardson locked into the field based on owner points. Now it's Elliott Sadler's turn out on the racetrack. Hermie, can you critique your own brother, or is that legal to do?
Well, I might not be able to get anything to eat after qualifying if I do too much critiquing, but I can tell you he was we flew up yesterday and he was very much looking forward to running this number 9 Busch car here at Texas. He got a lot of fond memories of this racetrack. Look, he got a little bit loose going in turn 1 right there. Went right to the bottom. Maybe got that on the white line and got a little bit free right there. See if he can make up a little time in 3 and 4, because he's usually a 1-lap guy. He wants to get it done on lap 1.
You know, it's hard to explain to the viewers, Hermie, how hard it is at over 200 miles an hour to drive in that turn 1 and know that you're not going to back off, and it's not easy. Daytona, Talladega, to run wide open around there in a qualifying scenario is easy. It is not easy to try to run wide open around this place.
It's also not easy to say you're going to do it. You know, it's different to actually be in there and do it. You have to adjust what the car is doing. You can have a mindset, this is what I'm going to do, but you have to adjust to what the car does. Wendy?
Casey Mears just having a few words with Dario Franchitti. Now, is it all away from the racetrack, or are you giving him some advice right now?
We talked a little bit before we went out, about how I was working the throttle to qualify, and obviously he did pretty well because he ran quicker than I did. But No, we were just talking a little bit. I haven't seen Dario in quite a while. Used to race with him a little bit and be on when I raced Indy Lights, he was racing Indy cars, so it's kind of good to catch up and have him back over here.
Now, at the top of the show, Hermie Sadler's in the booth, and he said he messed up his hair by giving himself his own haircut. You cut your own hair there?
I cut my own hair. It's grown out, though. It's about a week long. I gotta catch up on shaving this thing a little bit.
All right, thanks, Casey. Casey and Dario, Hermie, they're bringing in the crew cut in the garage area, making it famous again. Maybe you could try that.
I think I might need to try that. I think I can maybe do that, put a #1 clip in there and let it go.
Hermie, she kind of outed you there. We were talking about that during commercial break. You had not mentioned that on the air until Wendy mentioned it.
I critiqued some of Wendy's driving skills on a promo that you'll see later on this year on Speed. So I tried to go to the mirror and clip my own hair. Then I had to go to professional to get it finished. But let's get back to qualifying. What's really important?
She paid you back on the air. You did it during a commercial break.
She got me.
Kyle Krisloff now on the racetrack. Actually, Kyle had to change a motor after the first practice, and so they had a little more limited time on the racetrack than everyone else.
I want to make a point, Phil. We saw Jeff Burton a few cars ago get the pole on lap #2. In the Cup side, it's very rare to see a car make a faster lap in lap 2 when those cars are in the 100% qualifying trim. But in the Busch Series, for an impound race, sometimes in race trim, you put tape on it lap 1, you can be too free. Sometimes lap 2 will tighten up just enough so you can hold that gas down.
You get a little bit of air pressure in that right front tire, and then will help the handling on these cars, as we saw Jeff Burton run a little bit quicker on lap #2.
This is lap 2 for Kyle Krisloff as he went across the start-finish line. His second lap just a bit quicker, 29.212. So Kyle Krisloff 9th quickest. Ooh, a little body work going on. David Reagan looking to make it back-to-back poles at Texas Motor Speedway. He did it earlier this year where he was on the pole for the first race here in the Busch Series. And now he has moved up to the top of the scoring pylon, 28.556 for David Reagan.
Here's another guy, regardless of what he said in our interview earlier, this is somebody you're going to know is a threat for the pole and a threat for the win.
Hey, Clint has really stepped up his game all the way around. It's been incredible to watch what he's been able to do in this chase this year. We talked about confidence and momentum that carries over on both sides.
They've already announced that BB&T is coming back with RCR, and Clinton will actually run for the Busch Series Championship, actually the Nationwide Series Championship next year.
Clint Boyer across the start-finish line for his first lap, 28.624. Wendy, I believe you've got someone who who just got moved down a notch by Clint Boyer. That's Jeff Burton.
Well, Jeff Burton doing a little post-qualifying interview with other people in the garage area here. Jeff, the question in the booth has been, can you guys hold it open? How's the track, and how was your car in that qualifying run?
I couldn't hold it wide open. I tried, but couldn't do it. I carried a lot of speed into 3 and through the middle, but then on the exit, I had to get off the throttle. So I would have been faster not to try to ease some throttle out of it earlier. I would have run faster on my second lap for sure. So there's a big difference between wide open and never coming all the way off the gas. And I'm convinced that a lot of people think they run wide open, but they really don't. I've sat on several poles at Charlotte and fast racetracks, and I have never run wide open. And I hear guys run, qualified 15, so I run wide open. I don't get it. So I couldn't do it. It doesn't work for me, and maybe somebody else they can, but it doesn't work for me.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Always great to hear his opinion. Bob?
All right, if there's one guy that can do it, I would put my money on this guy, Greg Biffle. The question is, can you run wide open around this racetrack in qualifying?
Well, I haven't been able to run wide open here. I came really close at Charlotte and some other places, but here the car's just a little too loose, so I'm going to have to give up a little bit. I'm going to be curious on this warm-up lap how well it sticks. The Cup car had a lot of grip, so it's cooled down a little bit. So I'd like to see those times they're putting up for how little power these Busch cars have. Some guys are really having to leg it.
We'll keep our eye on Greg Biffle, but guys going around the garage area this morning, the one guy I know that held it wide open, Robbie Gordon. No surprise there, huh?
And he was pretty quick. Another guy who's pretty quick so far, Marcus Ambrose, trying to keep his momentum up. He got his first Busch Series pole a week ago at Memphis.
I'll tell you, Jeff Burton, I love his interviews. He always tells it exactly like it is. I mean, it's not always the fast way around to go wide open, Phil. He's talking about getting in and getting to the center, but if you can't carry that speed off the corner and have to breathe it off the corner, you lose all the momentum you gain, and it probably slows you down.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff said, I will do better not trying to run wide open. He actually right now is third, and he said he thought he would have bettered himself a little bit by not attempting to run wide open, because you will back off at a different place. You will back off maybe somewhere towards the middle of the corner, let the thing settle a little bit, and then get back on the throttle, where he tried to carry that speed all the way through the corner, had to back up off the corner and lost a lot of momentum.
I think it just sounds cool when you tell your crew you ran wide open. I don't think nobody really runs wide open.
Well, here's a guy who, if he's not running wide open, is as fast as anyone on the racetrack. Kevin Harvick now in his qualifying effort, 7 starts at this racetrack in the Busch Series. 3 of those starts turned into wins. 6 of his 7 are top 10 finishes.
Yeah, good qualifying effort in the Cup Series earlier this afternoon. Going to qualify 4th for the Cup race on Sunday. So good job by Kevin in that Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet.
His final practice, you had mentioned they didn't run a lot of qualifying setup. He was 6th quickest.
He is going to get this pole. Look, he's over 2 tenths ahead right now.
This is the guy we want to find out if he ran wide open or not.
Because that is the pace. 28.333 for Kevin Harvick, now your provisional pole sitter.
We heard Kevin say he didn't even make a simulated qualifying run in practice, and he was in the top 10. He was 6th fastest in Busch Series final practice without doing a qualifying run.
We go from the reigning Busch Series champion to a guy who's probably going to win the Busch Series champion, Bob.
Hey, guys, this is really funny, too, because Carl Edwards just shouted out his window. He said, hey, are they lifting? And I said, well, Jeff Burton said you have to lift. And you said what?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. I've crashed him here in qualifying, so as long as PK doesn't see this interview, his blood pressure will be all right. We're going to have to do something. We weren't very fast in practice, but this Dish Network Fusion hopefully will run pretty well here in qualifying. We didn't make a run. I'm thinking you got to be able to hold it wide open in this car.
I don't know, guys. We're going to definitely keep our eye on Carl Edwards. Guys?
Well, most definitely. We'll see if he's able to do exactly that and hold it wide open. Casey Atwood now on the racetrack in his qualifying effort. Yeah, bouncing all over the place here.
I talked to Kevin Harvick after the first practice session, and I asked him that very question. He said, well, I was all but wide open. He said, I'm not sure that maybe qualifying you could run wide open. So it'll be very interesting to see what Kevin says about his great lap and whether or not he was able to run wide open. But right now, Casey Atwood on lap number 1, 29.574, 182.593, and that puts him 14th of the 15 cars that have been on the racetrack.
You can tell just by watching this car. It's got a lot of bounce to it all over the racetrack. He's got his hands full. You can tell by the telemetry at the bottom, off and on the throttle, all the way through the corner. Not what Casey Atwood is looking for. He got his hands full right there.
Second lap was a little quicker for Casey Atwood, 29.324, still in that 14th spot of the 15 cars that have been on the racetrack. Qualifying continues from Texas Motor Speedway. Locked into the field, Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick up in front of the field now. Welcome back. Qualifying continuing. DJ Kennington, 15th quickest on his run, 30.36 seconds. Now on the racetrack, Ryan Clausen for his qualifying effort. Wendy.
Well, Kevin Harvick said he didn't make a qualifying run in that practice earlier, but you would never tell by that qualifying lap you lay down. Did you lay it all on the line? Were you wide open?
I wasn't wide open. I don't know that I've run anywhere wide open except for Daytona and Talladega. So everybody on this whole Richard Childress Racing AutoZone Chevrolet team, Shane Wilson, all these guys do a great job. It's fun to come and drive a car every once in a while, and got these last 3 weeks here, and then we're going to go do our own thing next year. But you know, it's this place has been really good to us. We always seem to race really good and qualify good, so we're looking forward to tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Kevin. The secret's out, guys. Wide open really doesn't mean wide open.
Well, he ran 28.333, and that's probably as close to wide open as you can get. First lap for Brian Clausen, 28.562, third quick for him. So a great qualifying effort for Brian.
Yeah, one of the Ganassi developmental drivers did a nice job in the ARCA REMAX series this year. Won a race, I believe, was it St. Louis? Was it Gateway that Brian won?
I believe so.
In the ARCA REMAX series, see what he does on lap number 2. Just a tick slower on lap number 2, 28.573. So lap number 1 will slot him third so far of the 17 cars that have qualified so far. Bob, who have you caught up with?
All right, we got to get the answer straight here, because I talked to Robbie Gordon's boys earlier, and your boys told me you were able to hold it wide open in practice. Telling the truth? Were they telling the truth?
They were telling the truth, and I promise you, anybody up there inside the top 6 right now held it wide open too. we were easily wide open both laps. So I don't know if we got too much drag built in the car or not, but we were inside the top 10. We weren't the fastest, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens now. The track's cooled down, and I just saw that fourth fastest at what, a 28.50 or something like that. So.
Hey, Jeff Burton says there ain't no way, and everybody up there actually says they did breathe it a little bit. Do you believe me?
Okay, well, then I guess we're going to be okay because I'm going to hold it wide open.
There you go. That's going to be fun to watch, guys.
I like the end of that interview. Robbie Gordon telling us to watch out. He's going to run it wide open. Exactly. But he made a good point. Maybe a little bit more drag, maybe a little bit gearing, or maybe engine combination. But Kevin Harvick laid down a heck of a lap.
Rarity for Greg Biffle this year. Hasn't been in victory lane in the Busch Series in 2007. He was 9th quickest on his first lap, 28.772. Decided that was fast enough for him. 1 lap and done for Greg Biffle. So he will sit 9th of the 18 that have been on the racetrack up to this point.
Yeah, I love the refreshing attitude from Robbie Gordon. Yeah. When Bob told him that everyone said they didn't run wide open, he said, well, that's good. He says, I'm going to.
Yeah.
And he will.
And he will.
And he will.
If they're not going to, then I will.
He'll bring it back, towards the front of the field, or bring it back on a rollback, one or the other.
Bob Dillner.
Actually, what was really funny is Robbie Gordon just came backing up and he said, those guys really told you they didn't hold it wide open. That's baloney. He says, you watch me. Both laps wide open. He ain't breaking that throttle, guys.
Well, I tell you, if there is a guy who is daring enough to hold it wide open, I would think it would be a stuntman, wouldn't it? Stanton Barrett now on the racetrack for his qualifying effort. Part-time stuntman.
Yeah, but he's a smart kid, too. Barrett is. So if he's got any of these guys out here, Hermie, if they've got the car, they can do it. And, this is a racetrack here. This Kevin Harvick's pole was over 190.5 miles an hour. So if they're able to do it, they would do it. But
Phil, I've heard you say this. There's no Houdinis out here. You can't get into a car that doesn't have a lot of grip, knock down in the racetrack and hold it wide open. Nobody can do that.
Stanton Barrett for his first lap, 29.118.
185.452. And I'm telling you, that's still getting around here pretty fast. Stanton will slide in 15th of the 19 cars, but that is still a pretty fast lap here. When you talk about a mile-and-a-half racetrack, I dare say that more than likely is faster than these cars qualify at Daytona and Talladega. And you're talking about a 2.5 mile or over racetrack. Obviously, they're restricted there, but Greg Biffle talked earlier about these cars really not having much horsepower, wasn't it, Greg Biffle? They've got 750 horsepower in these cars. Again, next to the Cup cars that have about 850, it is a little bit less, but still pretty strong engines in these cars.
Stanton Barrett a little bit quicker on his second lap, 29.031. He's one of the drivers that has to qualify in on time. Currently 14th quickest for Stanton. Race day fans, we are looking for your photos. Show us your colors of speed for a chance to see yourself on race day. We will select the best photo and show it on air. It's all part of My Race Day. Upload your photos to speedtv.com. Keyword My Race Day now. And Trackside is going to follow us at the bottom of the hour. So at 6:30 local, 7:30 Eastern. Stay tuned for Trackside right here on Speed.
As we see Sam Hornish getting up to speed, trying to gain some confidence and get accustomed to stock car racing. Talking about the less horsepower field, that's why momentum and getting through the corners is more important with a Busch car than it is a Cup car, because you don't have that extra 100 horsepower to get you out of trouble if you get in trouble. Very important to be more precise with these cars than the Cup cars.
Yeah, these cars here will run a little bit slower at the end of the straightaway, but their center of a corner speed is probably faster than a Nextel Cup car.
Sam Hornish Jr., one of the drivers that had to qualify in on time. He has locked himself into this race, running 14th quickest on his first lap, 29 seconds flat. And he's got some success at this racetrack. Obviously, in the IRL series, Sam Hornish Jr. very successful. 13 races, 13 starts here at Texas, 3 wins under his belt.
It always seems like Sam Hornish, when they come down to a shootout in the IRL series, he knows he jumps up to 6th on lap number 2. But he knows how to win those last lap shootouts. There's been so many that he's been involved in that he's won by 3 or 4 inches or a foot or 2.
And a good idea to get him in a Busch car, to get him some more seat time and confidence. He's missed a couple Cup races by just a hair. Good idea to get him in a Busch car, get in this race and get some laps under his belt.
Wendy Venturini, I believe you've got Brian Clausen with you.
Well, Brian said there was a little bit of a hiccup during your qualifying run. What happened in 1 and 2?
You know, we just drove it off in there, and you know, the car felt really good on the outlap, and you know, just tried keeping it flat through 1 and 2, and it got over the bump there, and you know, cost us a little time. I had to roll out of the throttle, and it cost us down the backstretch. You know, it was a great lap for our Memorex Dodge, so we were really happy with it, and we felt like we were at a really good car and race trim, and you know, so we were really looking forward to today and getting a good starting spot. I feel like I cost us a little bit there, just trying too hard, but you know, I'm really excited for tomorrow, and we have a great car.
All right, thanks, Brian. Obviously, it didn't cost him too much. He's 3rd on the chart.
Exactly what we talked about, Phil. He went through the center of the corner wide open, and he was carrying so much speed on the exit, ran out of racetrack and had to lift, cost him momentum on the straightaway.
You know, as a car owner or as a crew chief, I sure have no problem with somebody trying too hard, like Brian Clausen was doing. There's a threat for the pole here. See if he can do it. Carl Edwards does it.
He does the pole at 28.310, so an improvement on Kevin Harvick's time. Now Carl Edwards is what they are shooting for.
Big pickup for him. He was 30th in practice, and I talked to him earlier. He said, don't know what's going on with this Busch car, cannot get it like we want it.
Carl Edwards' first 15 races of the season, amazing. 4 wins in that time, 11 top 5s. Take a look at the last 17 races. Well, it's not going to matter, though. He's going to be your champion. Kelly Byers just ending up his qualifying effort, 16th quickest of the 22 that have been on the racetrack. His first lap a little quicker than his second. Now it's Matt Kenseth's turn. 2-time winner at this race.
Ooh,
big
bottomed
bump
out
there at 1.
Yeah, right through the tunnel area we were talking about earlier, Hermie, and that thing bottomed out and shot up the racetrack here. Look at the bottom of your screen, the telemetry. He's hovering around the 15th spot there. That really cost him a lot of time.
And you can tell he had a top 5 run going down into turn 1. Got on that bump, as we talked about, on top of that tunnel, and that momentum, losing that momentum is really hurting this lap.
Across the start-finish line, 28.894. Slow time for Kenseth, 14th quickest. The guy he's chasing, as we see again him hit that bump, is Carl Edwards, who's leading right now. Wendy?
I heard Carl Edwards tell PK, got a little bit hairy out there. Were you able to hold it wide open? It looked fast.
I held it wide open for as much as I could. I don't think it was, I'd like to say I held it wide open, but just really proud of the guys, you know. Pretty awesome for them to take this, you know, Dish Network Fusion and change, you know, complete spring setup, everything. We did not get a practice qualifying run, and that lap was something to be proud of for those guys. That was fun.
For not getting a practice qualifying run, were you surprised at the speeds that you're pulling now tonight qualifying?
Yeah, definitely surprised. That's the fastest I've gone around here, I think, ever in a Busch car. I'm not sure, but it sure felt fast, and I hope it races well. You know, we just these guys have been through a lot. They've been working really hard, and they haven't gotten the finishes that they deserve. So it'd be great to do it for Dish Network, for Scott's, but especially for these guys and guys back at the shop. It'd be great to have a good run.
All right, thanks, Carl. The sensation of speed at Texas, guys.
Matt Kenseth coming off the racetrack now. His second lap, not quite as quick as his first, so 14th quickest for Matt Kenseth.
And that issue getting over the bumps in turns 1 and 2 cost Matt on both laps.
Steve Wallace now on the racetrack in his number 66.
See him moving around in the car? Did you?
It looked like he was having an issue with his hand, like putting his glove on or something. But he's got his, you can see him working the wheel in there. I couldn't tell what he was doing in there.
They announced last week that there's going to be a part of a 2-car team. Stephen Wallace is going to drive one of the cars, and then Chase Austin and David Strimmy are going to share the other car, and they're going to make the switch from Dodge to Chevrolet and use RCR DEI power next year.
Kind of surprising. We've seen Rusty Wallace in a Dodge for a lot of years, so. But these guys are competitive. We want to try to get every competitive advantage they possibly can to try to get these cars up to speed.
29.177 on the first lap for Steve Wallace out of 4 and through the quad oval. For lap number 2, is it an improvement? No, it's actually a slowdown. 29.249 the second lap for Steve Wallace. 20th quick will be his mark of record. Bob.
We are down here with Denny Hamlin. We're just chatting about whether or not he will lift, and you said you got it.
I don't think you have to, but I think to get a good lap, I think you're going to need to. I think these cars get so bound up on corner exit if you don't try to lift. I've run here wide open before, no brake, you know, all the way on the floor, but I've been faster lifting. It's just one of those deals.
Question of the day, you going to hold it wide open?
No, it's going to be faster if you lift, definitely.
Uh-oh, look at that. Kyle Busch, he always holds it wide open, guys.
And Denny walks away going, I don't believe he just said that.
And they've got those are two guys are pretty good friends there. See what Robbie Gordon can do. And remember, he
said
told us
hold it wide open.
He said he's going to.
Holds a pretty line. He's able to hold it right down on that white line through the turns.
Has a great lap going. He said he's going to do it on both laps. Looks like a top 5 run here for Robbie Gordon. He is going to be 3rd on lap number 1. Let's see if Robbie does go for lap number 2. You see the car bottoming out a little bit, but it's not shooting it up the racetrack like we saw with Matt Kenseth.
And that's the other thing, too, that drivers get in trouble with sometimes. You can't practice a car at 90% speed and qualify trying to run wide open, because if your car travels a little bit more field, it'll do some different stuff than it did in practice. You got to practice like you're going to qualify.
Well, he comes out of the quad oval for lap number 2. Across the start-finish line is an improvement. Yes, he does pick it up just a bit, 28.504. When he climbs out of that car on pit road, we'll ask him if he was able to hold on to that steering wheel at breakneck speed, holding it all the way down. We'll see if he did it. Qualifying continues here on Speed. J.J. Yeley rolling on the apron through 3 and 4, just coming off the racetrack. 20th quickest in his qualifying effort. First lap quickest 29.067. Now on the clock, it's Richard Johns on the racetrack in that number 25 Ford. Wendy Venerini.
I know Bob Dillner asked Robbie Gordon before the qualifying lap, are you going to hold it wide open? And the question is, yes, you did. The answer is.
Of course I did. I said I was going to do it. I looked in there after I said it to Bob, and I was a little bit bummed because it didn't have the data box, so I wanted him to be able to sit there and watch it. But it did run wide open from the time we left pit lane. So Dana and all the guys back home and all the guys at the pit crew basically cruised this car on the weekends. They did a wonderful job. Gave us a car to attempt at the pole, and we just missed it a little bit. Probably have a little bit too much downforce built into it. I think we'll have a better race car than we did a qualifying car.
All right, thanks, Robbie. Always a gutsy driver out there on the racetrack.
I was going to say, I have no doubts that Robbie Gordon held that thing wide open. Now, the question is, if he can hold it wide open for any number of laps in race trim, he'll go right by these guys, because that will be, if he does have too much drag, also with drag, you get downforce, it'll pay off for him in the race.
Hermie, he's not going to hold it wide open not one lap in this race. Not one.
Well, you never know. It's Robbie Gordon. He might just try it.
Richard John comes off the racetrack 25th quickest in his qualifying effort. NASCAR on Speed Phoenix. Coverage begins next Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, live. No one covers NASCAR like NASCAR on Speed. Friday, tune in all weekend long as we deliver live coverage from Phoenix. Get all the on and off track action. NASCAR on Speed beginning Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern.
Here's Eric McClure on the racetrack from Chilhowie, Virginia.
That's got to be near you, doesn't it?
That's on the western side of the state,
Is
up there
near Bristol, really.
Bristol, Abington area, yeah.
Bob Dillner.
Tony Stewart joking around with Leo Thorson and the guys here. We'll see if we can get a word with them. Tony, what's up, dude? Ready to qualify? How are we going to do?
Well, it appears that way. I mean, I don't normally just wear my suit around for no reason.
All right. Seriously, though, I mean, everybody talking about just breathing the throttle here. What's this qualifying run going to be like for you?
I don't know. Denny has convinced me that we can run wide open. I'm just...
Wait a second. He said he can't do it. He just told me that 2 seconds ago.
Well, the good news is I wasn't going to do it anyway. I mean, I trust him. He's my teammate, but I told him, I say, when you turn 36, you won't hold it wide open qualifying anymore. So, I don't know. He actually told me when he breathed it last year in qualifying that it actually went a little quicker. It must free the car up a little. So, I don't know. We'll wait and see. The good news is it's overcast and it's going to have a lot of grip right now. So all these guys running Busch cars get to run as quick as they want to run right now.
How much fun you having coming here running this Busch car here at Texas?
I'm enjoying it. It's Goodies has been really good to me. I've had so much fun working with Goodies and working with Richard Petty and doing the spots that we've done. They've been a lot of fun, and the new cool orange flavor is something I can actually take. So I couldn't take much of the regular flavor, but now they got this cool orange flavor. It's something that it dissolves so fast. It works better than anything I've ever taken. So I get a lot of headaches too, and cause a lot of headaches. So I'm your perfect guy for Goodies for sure.
Some words of wisdom from Tony Stewart.
Get a lot of headaches and cause a lot of headaches from Tony Stewart. Eric McClure coming off the racetrack, 26th quickest of the 28 that have been out on the racetrack. Jason Keller now on the racetrack in his number 11.
I'll tell you what's big for Eric McClure. He was able to beat DJ Kennington. So now 3 cars will go home here. There are 46 cars. Now Eric McClure has jumped ahead of DJ Kennington. Right now they are last and next to last as far as the cars that are go homes.
When you talk about Ironmen in the Busch Series, I think you've got to talk about Jason Keller, the number of starts he has made. This will be his 420th career start in this series.
And we all know how tough it is to come out here, Busch Series or Nextel Cup, with a part-time effort and be competitive. And Jason has really impressed me. Every time they brought this car to the racetrack field, he's been pretty daggone competitive. Qualified 5th at Memphis last week.
Yeah, finished in the top 10 also. So great run for Jason Keller and this team last week at Memphis.
Running it right along that white line on the bottom of the racetrack, the shortest distance around this 1.5 miles. His first lap, 29.174. Let's see if he improves on lap 2. He does. Locks himself into the field, 29.029 for Jason Keller. So now on the bubble is Mark Green. Mark Green currently 22nd at 29.086. We'll be back with more qualifying after this. Brad Baker 14th quick in his qualifying effort. Now it's Denny Hamlin's turn on the racetrack. His teammate actually having some problems, it seems like. Bob, what's going on down there?
Actually, it's okay. Just an awkward moment just moments ago down here for Tony Stewart on the grid as we watch his teammate Denny Hamlin go around the racetrack. What happened was all of a sudden we saw the entire crew rush over with a jack and a gun. They changed the tire, the right front. And so I asked the crew what was going on, and when they rolled through tech before qualifying, before coming out to the grid, they found out that they actually had a leaky rim. So what they did is they just put any old tire on the right front just to get it out on the grid. They went back to Goodyear, changed that tire onto a new rim, brought that exact tire back out here, and now Tony Stewart is sitting in the car getting ready to qualify.
And he looks calm and comfortable. Denny Hamlin on the racetrack, maybe giving his teammate a little not good news, but decent news as far as being able to run almost all the way around here wide open.
Good lap on lap number 1.
Yep, third quickest on his first lap, not as quick on his second lap. So 28.444. Denny Hamlin looks like he may start in the top 2 rows.
I think it's any cat and mouse games going on in the garage. Denny Hamlin tells us, no way you can run wide open. He goes to tell Tony Stewart, Tony, you can do it, baby. You can
hold
run
it wide open. You can do it.
To Bobby Labonte, actually driving for Kevin Harvick here in the Busch Series on Dollar General car, talking to Tony.
Telling Tony you can hold it wide open.
Well, wait, Bobby hasn't gone yet, though. So
yeah.
Then he'll say, by the way, let me know after you finish
if you can hold it wide open.
If you could. I know you can, but let me know.
Here's Jeremy Clements right here. 3 career Busch starts coming into this race. 23 years old, out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. Did a nice job in the ARCA REMAX series this year. Won his first career race. I believe it was at Nashville.
Yeah, he thought he was going to come close at Pocono.
Well, he thought he was going to. I said for sure that he wasn't going to make it on fuel, and he ran out of gas coming off turn 3, the last lap, coming down for the checkered. Michael McDowell, who's in this field, also was in that race and won that race, and Jeremy finished 3rd. Bob, what's going on down there on pit road?
Well, Kyle Busch actually strapping in behind the wheel of his number 5 machine. He came over and had some fun with us during the Denny Hamlin interview, but what do you think? What can you expect here?
Well, I don't know what to expect. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to breathe it on the first lap, and I'm going to hold it open on the second lap, and we'll figure out which one's faster.
All right, there you go. You guys can watch and learn from Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch has about 6 cars in front of him before he makes it out onto the racetrack. Again, this is the second lap for the conclusion of the second lap for Jeremy Clements as he comes off the racetrack. 29.180. So a little quicker for Jeremy Clements on his second lap. 26 quick of the 32 that have gone. Again, we mentioned trackside coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're going to slip away to Steve Burns. We'll come back and let you know how everyone has done in qualifying. We'll give you the starting lineup. We'll also be able to talk to our pole sitter and hear from him as far as who it is. Right now, it's Carl Edwards that has the fast time, 28.310. Are we going to see anyone beat him, guys?
I think we got a good chance of that. It's steady getting darker. This whole racetrack right now in complete darkness. I say it's a good chance of it.
Rudeman possibly could do it, as well as Kyle Busch. They showed speed in practice. We'll find out. Now it's to trackside and Steve Burns.